Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Wednesday, June 10th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we got two more big prospects who got the call. We'll break those down in just a little bit. Big return from Dylan Cease. We'll fire up the worryometer and much more. Let's jump in.
You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
I would have to imagine that would have been Hawk Harrelson's call for Braden Montgomery's walk-off home run if you were still calling the game. Did you watch? I mean, I'm sure you watched that game, Scott. It was, obviously against the Braves. Did you see any of the White Sox broadcast? They did like this retro night thing where everything looked and sounded like the 80s.
I did see clips of it.
It was pretty cool.
The graphics, the what do they call that in the corner of the screen? The bug.
Yeah.
Scoring bug. I should know that. I'm in broadcasting. It was a fun throwback there graphically.
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, the only thing is I'm not a real big Bob Costas guy, but I mean, whatever. I get that he's part of like the fabric of baseball and all that stuff. But anywho, let's get into the players of the night again. We'll get to the prospects in just a little bit. Scott, talk to me about Jac Caglianone. Might it finally be happening? Finally.
Well, for a day, it happened. He went 3 for 3 with 2 home runs. Also stole a base for whatever that's worth and walked. But really, it's the 2 home runs here that are worth stressing. And really, since the calendar flipped to June, Caglianone has looked better. He's gone 10 for 21 with a 476 batting average. Is now up to 3 home runs. And it's sort of the same story if you dig into the data with Caglianone. Sort of the same story as last year, where he has throttled the ball consistently, 96th percentile, average exit velocity, 98th percentile, max exit velocity, hits the ball about as hard as anyone, which of course we knew from his time at the University of Florida, but it wasn't translating to production. The big difference between this year and his rookie year was the strikeout rate has blown up. It's 30% this year. It was 22% last year. That was part of what made him so encouraging for a guy with that much power to not have an excessive strikeout rate. Well, it has been excessive this year. Not so excessive that with as hard as he hits the ball, he couldn't theoretically overcome it, but he hadn't been, and he wasn't last year either. And it's easy to lose heart when you have that many months of underachievement despite the data looking so good. And I don't know if it's turned around now, but I know that if you gave up on Caglianone, understandably, I did too. Yeah, in at least one of the leagues where I drafted him, he's worth a look again because there is a lot of talent there. You can tell just by all those red lollipops on his Baseball Savant page, among everything else. And this brief though it is, it's the clearest demonstration of that talent in the majors so far. So, you got a spot to play with. You need outfield help. It's time to pick him up again, and we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, the underlying numbers all still look pretty good. It seems like he has traded in, more strikeouts this season for more power. He's trying to get to that power. He's clearly hitting the ball really hard. 93.9 average exit velocity is among the best in baseball. It just hasn't really translated to big power production yet. But obviously, 2 home run game here. He has 3 home runs in June so far. And the overall line is okay. I mean, 261 batting average, 8 homers, 3 steals, 780 OPS. Hopefully he can build off this. 62% rostered. Some other names that are right in that range. Jung-Hoo Lee, who is racking up the hits, but clearly does not have the same type of juice that Caglianone does. Who would you rather have between those two?
I mean, in points leagues, you still have to lean Lee because he's such a good contact hitter and Caglianone's such a bad contact hitter. Talking CBS scoring, of course. Otherwise, though, it kind of depends what you need more, I would say. They're about on equal footing in terms of how rostered they need to be. Caglianone has vastly more upside. I think you feel a little more confident in Jung-Hoo Lee right now just being useful. But it's it is pretty hollow, that batting average, what else he provides with it. And so if that were to slip at all, he'd quickly lose value.
Would you take Caglianone over any of the other young outfielders? Not the prospects. We'll get to those in a second, but the AJ Ewings, Ryan Waldschmidt, Antonacci, even throw Noelvi Marte in there, who recently got called back up.
It's pretty easy to take him over Marte because the playing time since returning hasn't been consistent there. He was out of the lineup again here on Tuesday. So I think Caglianone over Marte is a pretty easy call. Those others, I mean, none of Ewing or Waldschmidt or Cruz have really given us, have really made it so we feel like we can't drop them. They're not solid for fantasy by any means. They've all had their moments, I think Ewing and Waldschmidt especially, but they haven't solidified their place on fantasy rosters. And I don't think any of them has, at least not clearly, has more upside than Caglianone himself. So if he's the one attracting the attention right now, I'd be fine swapping out any of them for him. Again, I'd be a little more hesitant in a points league because I don't think Caglianone's strikeout rate gives him as much margin for error in that format. But I would say at the very least, they're on equal footing there. I'd probably put Cruz below all of them because obviously this is more than just this year of him letting us down.
All right, let's talk about the returning Dylan Cease, who was awesome against the Phillies here. 6 innings of 1-run ball, 11 strikeouts to 1 walk, 29 whiffs on 93 pitches, 10 of those on the fastball, 8 on the changeup, 7 on the slider. He's just a more complete pitcher so far this season with the Blue Jays. He used his changeup and his sinker more in the start, and he just had everything working. I mean, again, like 3 different pitches with 7+ whiffs is just insane stuff for any starting pitcher. And on the season, it's a 2.91 ERA, 1.16 whip, 13.6 K per 9. His 27% K minus walk rate is second among all qualified starting pitchers, behind only Jacob Misiorowski. So he's still Dylan Cease, and I feel like at any point there could still be walks that pop up. Obviously, like this erratic sense of pitching that we get from Dylan Cease every now and then. He's inconsistent at times. So far this year, he has been a lot better than that. I totally get that. But, Scott, it's looking like Dylan Cease is just a legit top 12 starting pitcher, SP1 this season, at least based on what he showed us so far and obviously in this return.
I don't know that I'm ready to put him in my top 12 yet. There are a lot of candidates for that spot, but just to speak more broadly about it, he is still Dylan Cease, like you said, but he's also different. You know, he's a more, I would say this is the best Dylan Cease we've ever seen. Not statistically, he's had better years statistically, but in terms of how good he could be with what he is demonstrating, because he has fleshed out that arsenal in a way we've never seen before. So last year, 82% combined fastballs and sliders, just those 2 pitches, 82% of the time. This year, it's more like 65% of the time. He got whiffs. You mentioned 7+ whiffs on 3 different pitches. That itself is pretty amazing for any pitcher, but Cease especially with his limited arsenal historically. So 7 or more whiffs on 3 different pitches. He got at least 1 on 5 different pitches, all of which he threw at least 11% of the time. He talked about the changeup specifically because that was not something he featured. It's not even something he really threw last year. And it was responsible for it had the plurality of the whiffs here on Tuesday with 8 of them. He described it as not metrically sexy, but he's been getting good results with it. He feels like it is a pitch he want to keep working on, and he feels like it complements his arsenal well. And I think we're seeing it in the results, not only with the whiffs here in this start, but his ground ball rate is way up this year. His average exit velocity against is the lowest, which is to say the best. I'm not going to say it's ever been, but the best it's been since that 2022 season when he had the 2.20 ERA. So, yeah, I think Dylan Cease has unlocked another level here, joining the Blue Jays. And, not every start's going to be as dominant as this one. He's still going to struggle with control at times. But I'm excited to see if he can become steadier overall now that he has these additional weapons to work with.
Yeah, I think it just raises the ceiling for Dylan Cease. And he always had a high ceiling. It's, the floor that we always have to worry about. So I still think there is some variance on a start-to-start basis, on a month-to-month basis for Dylan Cease. I just left him as my SP12 while he was hurt because I knew he would be back pretty soon. It was only a hamstring injury he was dealing with. But when you couple the K- walk stuff with the new pitches, the expected ERA is in the low threes, it all looks really, really promising. I'm thinking Dylan Cease is like a borderline ace as long as he can maintain these gains with these new pitches that he's been throwing. He wasn't the only one in this game, by the way. It was a pitcher's duel up in Toronto.
It's time to
Zack Wheeler on the other side, just another ho-hum, strong start, quality start, 6 innings of 1-run ball, 5 strikeouts to 0 walks. He had 15 whiffs on 96 pitches, 6 on the fastball, 3 on the splitter, 2 on the sinker, 2 on the sweeper. And he is down to a 2.22 ERA. He's got a .85 whip, 2 earned runs or fewer in 7 of 9 starts. He's gone 6+ innings in 8 straight. He's not exactly the Zack Wheeler of old just because the strikeout rate isn't where it was before. But in terms of just results, keeping runs off the board, and even the volume he's provided, those are all pretty close to the Zack Wheeler. So, again, he's not a top 5 starting pitcher, but I think he's like 85, 90% of the pitcher he was pre-injury.
So why do you not have him in the top 12? I understand why you're saying he's not top 5, but you're putting Cease in the top 12.
Yeah, I have Wheeler at 14, so he's...
I think I'd rather have Wheeler than Cease. I don't see much to be concerned about here.
It's just the strikeouts, honestly. It's the strikeout difference between the two.
But I don't see why that wouldn't return to its former levels, given that, we talked about this last time. His velocity is basically back to where it was prior to the thoracic outlet surgery. So I'm not seeing a lot of difference here, Wheeler of old. Yes, results-wise, the strikeouts are down some. It's still, it's not like it's a bad strikeout rate. It's just kind of an average strikeout rate. But I think it could come back, and I think obviously he's good enough that he can make do with it not being. It was 11.7 per 9 last year. That was by far the best of his career, but 10 per 9, high 9 per 9. That's where he normally resides, and I think he could get back to that. Doesn't necessarily need to, but I wouldn't be surprising if he did.
Yeah, I could see Zack Wheeler being more steady, more consistent than Dylan Cease, but again, on a start-to-start basis, I think the upside is just higher with Cease. 13.6 K per 9 is just bananas for him. And then with Zack Wheeler, the swinging strike rate down from 14.5% last year to 11%. I'm very high on Zack Wheeler. I didn't want this to turn into like I'm down on Zack Wheeler. I was clearly wrong.
You always do that to me, Frank.
Look, I was down on him coming into the season. Clearly, I was wrong about Zack Wheeler, but yeah, he just continues to get it done. It's quality start after quality start. One other mention here, I wanted to give a shout out to Dillon Dingler, who is catching fire. 4 for 5 with a double dong. That's 2 dingalings. Someone tweeted and asked to call his home runs dingalings, so that's what we're going with. 3 runs, 4 RBI. That's his second multi-home run performance in his last 7 games. And over Dillon Dingler's last 16, he is batting .283, 8 homers, 20 RBI, and OPS up over 1,000. We've said it all season, Scott. I mean, the StatCast stuff for Dillon Dingler under the hood is just fantastic. 94th percentile or better in XBA, XSlug, XWOBA. He has 16 home runs total on the season, 857 OPS. I think we're just starting to see all that hard contact come to fruition now with the power catching up here for Dillon Dingler.
Heath Cummings, who does fantasy football for CBS, but used to do fantasy baseball, Do you remember his preferred term for home runs?
It was dongs.
Yeah. He's like to call home runs dongs. So why don't we call Dingler home runs ding dongs?
Ding dongs. Yeah, fair enough. Are you in, Scott? You all the way in?
I don't know that I have much to add analytically. You pretty much said everything already. It's just a question of sorting out where exactly he belongs in the top 10 at this point at catcher. I know Rushman is now dealing with a hamstring injury, Adley Rushman, so that might be reason enough to drop him behind. It's crowded up there still, though. I know it's not. I know catchers lost some of its depth to attrition. Not at all surprising, given the physical demands of the position. But once you climb inside the 10, it's like, oh, where are the misses here? Obviously, Baldwin and Cal Raleigh are on the IL currently, but they're still top 5. I would assume we'd still have them top 5. William Contreras is underwhelmed a little with the power, and Ivan Herrera has not been quite as good as we hoped, but they've both still been very productive overall. Like, I'm not sure I can sit here and say I'd rather have Dingler than either one of them. I don't know. Do you disagree?
No.
So it's really just Liam Hicks, I think. Would you rather have Dingler than Liam Hicks?
I still have Will Smith ahead of him, but I think that's a pretty easy swap. I think Dingler ahead of Hicks, ahead of Smith. Then that gets you up to 9. It's close with someone like Ivan Herrera. I think Goodman is moving back up. He's just on an absolute heater right now, too. So, yeah, somewhere in that like 6 to 9 range, I think, for Dillon Dingler. Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see how I can get him higher than 8. And that's if I move him ahead of Hicks, which may be fine. You know, I've had a little more skepticism for Hicks than I'm feeling for Dingler right now. Dingler and his ding dongs. But yeah, I think 8th is high as I could go because there's still so many high-end hitters at that position.
All right, before we hit our first break, just a reminder that Scott's top prospects to stash is or will be up on the site here on Wednesday morning / afternoon. And make sure to check out our FBT Express episode where we will talk about a bunch of prospects. And speaking of prospects, we'll talk about more of those in just a second. We'll be back right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ hits every highlight from all the sports that matter to you.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, streaming free 24/7.
Welcome back, Fantasy Baseball today, and let's talk about prospects. We got 2 more big promotions here. The White Sox called up outfielder Braden Montgomery, 23 years old, 12th overall pick in 2024. Came over to the White Sox in the Garrett Crochet trade. Big raw power, big exit velocities. Last 10 games at AAA before the promotion, 474 batting average, 2 homers, 17 runs scored, and he made an instant impact. He went 2 for 5 with 3 RBI, including a walk-off home run. He hit to the opposite field off of Raisel Iglesias in his debut. So very, very impressive stuff. 30% rostered. Scott, what are your expectations for Braden Montgomery, and what type of leagues are you looking to add him in?
I mean, first of all, it's all downhill from here, right? Your first major league game, you hit a walk-off home run, come from behind walk-off home run, right? Like just you can't reach that high again emotionally. And I kind of, it makes sense that the clips that's going around of that walk-off home run is the White Sox broadcast, because obviously he's a White Sox player and the announcers have the appropriate level of enthusiasm for the moment. But it's, if you're able to find a clip of the Braves broadcast of that walk-off home run, they get a better shot of him rounding first base, and the expression on his face is just priceless. I mean, he was walking on air, and even though it was a bit of a dagger since it was against my favorite team, it was hard not to feel good for Braden Montgomery in that moment. And he's a talented player, as you mentioned. The exit velocities have always, he hasn't been in the minors that long. He was drafted 2 years ago. Immediately moved in the Garrett Crochet deal before he even had a chance to play a game in the Red Sox system. This year at AAA, 94th percentile average exit velocity, 97th percentile max exit velocity. But there are some glaring weaknesses here too that could undermine his success in the majors more than it did in the minors. Only 76% zone contact rate, which is very low. It would be among the lowest among qualifiers in the majors. And he was doing that against minor league pitchers. It was 18th percentile at AAA, the zone contact rate. Also just a 12th percentile pull air rate. So he wastes a lot of that hard contact. Even this home run here, the walk-off home run, was to the opposite field, and the metrics on it weren't particularly good. Hit less than 100 miles per hour. Okay, he hits the ball hard. Only went 343 feet. Only would have been a home run in 2 of 30 parks. So he can't get away with hitting the ball that direction. It's not going to wind up being a home run very often. And so we kind of saw, even though it worked here, we kind of saw that. We kind of saw the flaw in action there for Braden Montgomery. So 5 outfielder leagues, certainly 15 teamers. Like 15 teamers is a must. The outfield pool is terrible in those formats. 12 team, 5 outfielder leagues. Okay, still probably. I mean, there's a lot of upside here for Braden Montgomery. Anything shallower than that, 3 outfielder leagues, I don't know. I think you could take a wait and see approach. I don't think Braden Montgomery is definitively better than some of those others we listed off, Ryan Waldschmidt, AJ Ewing. In fact, I think as a prospect, I like him a little less than both. But they're basically in the same category, and so I think in 3 outfielder leagues, you can probably wait and see.
And the other big name getting called up here, the Rockies promoted Cole Carrigg, a name that we have talked about for a while now. 57 games at AAA this season. He hit .338, 6 homers, 55 runs scored, 30 stolen bases, a .943 OPS as well. He went 1 for 3 with a triple and a walk in his debut. The Rockies also placed Tyler Freeman on the 7-day concussion IL. So I'm just left wondering, would they have called up Cole Carrigg even if that injury didn't happen, or is this just an injury replacement? So just a little bit worried about that, but he's a big name prospect and he was putting up massive numbers. 19% rostered. Same question, Scott. What size leagues are you looking at him in? Who do you prefer between Carrigg and Braden Montgomery?
It's probably the same situation. I mean, all 5 outfielder leagues, you're probably looking to add him. 3 outfielder leagues, you could probably wait and see. I think his skill set, Carrigg's, lends itself a little more to points leagues because there's better plate discipline. And he's an extra base hit machine, the kind of extra base hits that aren't rewarded in categories leagues, standard 5x5 leagues anyway, but are in points leagues.
And especially in Coors Field.
Especially in Coors Field. And again, we saw that play out in his first game because the one hit Carrigg had was a triple that was just hit into the right field corner, but the corner's so deep at Coors Field. The gaps are so deep and wide, and there's just, if a ball gets past an outfielder at Coors Field, Carrigg's very likely to get a triple, as we saw here on Tuesday. And just looking at his production at AAA, so 338 batting average, 943 OPS, despite having only 6 home runs. He had 26 extra base hits overall. So he's just, his skill set lends itself to a lot of extra base hits, and it's going to be amplified at Coors Field. 30 steals. Obviously, he's got a ton of speed, 99th percentile sprint speed at AAA. Center field capable. Started as center field. Obviously has the speed to run down fly balls in that big outfield. So I imagine if he hits, he's sticking around. That's a big if, of course, as it is for any call-up, but he has the right environment and to maximize his hitting ability, and he was batting .338 at AAA. So I feel pretty good about Carrigg, I would say. Part of me thought if the Rockies called up an outfielder, it would be Zack Wheeler, who is showing a lot of improvement at AAA this year and was already on the 40-man roster, but clearly they decided to go with Carrigg instead, and it's up to him now if he sticks around, but I like his chances.
So let's just rank all the young outfielders, Scott, because these are the questions I've been getting all day long. So Ryan Waldschmidt, AJ Ewing, Noelvi Marte, Dylan Cruz, Cole Carrigg, Braden Montgomery. There's 6 names there. How would you rank those 6?
Somebody said Cole Carrigg has poor plate discipline. It was 10.5% walk rate, 15% strikeout rate at AAA, and 90% zone contact rate. So he chases a fair amount, but I don't know that I'd say he has bad plate discipline. Anyway, I was thinking about that and not hearing the names you said. Could you say them again?
Yeah. So Waldschmidt, AJ Ewing, Noelvi Marte, Dylan Cruz, Cole Carrigg, Braden Montgomery. Those 6.
I would say the top 4 that I'm about to rattle off, very messy. And it could change. One big game could change it. But I will go. You're not putting Caglianone in here, right?
Well, I guess we probably should. Yeah, throw him in there.
Right now, because Caglianone just had that big game, I'm going to say Caglianone, Carrigg, just because he's a hot new name, Ewing, Waldschmidt, Montgomery, Marte, and Cruz. I'm putting Noelvi Marte ahead of Dylan Cruz, which should tell you how little confidence I have in Cruz because, again, Marte's not even playing that much.
Yeah. I think I would go Caglianone as well. Then I would go Ewing, Carrigg, Montgomery, Waldschmidt. Waldschmidt's been okay, but he's also like striking out 30% of the time so far. He just hasn't really hit for power. And then I'll go Dylan Cruz, Marte. I like Noelvi Marte. It's just, again, he's not playing enough. So that is the order there. But, 2 pretty exciting prospects getting called up here on Tuesday. We do have one other prospect news item here. The Brewers signed Luis Lara to a 7-year, $31 million extension. The deal includes 3 club options, which could keep Lara with the Brewers through the 2035 season. We have talked a lot about him on that FBT Express episode that we do every week. He's 21 years old. He's having a very strong season at AAA. He's 12% rostered. He's outfield eligible. Scott, do you think this extension accelerates Luis Lara getting promoted to the bigs? Because, it sounds like you think he's close either way, so.
Yeah, I added him to the 5 on the verge in last week's prospects report. Those are the 5 prospects that most need to be stashed in fantasy. I removed Cole Carrigg from that list to do it. But we don't need to talk about that. Yeah, the fact they signed him to a deal, that pretty much always points to, okay, this guy's about to be promoted. Or it's often the moment he gets promoted, because they don't have to think about service time anymore. It's all accounted for in the contract. Now, I say that used to always signal that, because we've had a couple examples of it not signaling that this year with Colt Emerson in the Mariners organization. Took him several weeks to get called up still. And in the Brewers organization with Cooper Pratt, who still isn't up. And I don't know that he deserves to be. He's heating up a little at AAA, but Luis Lara's been killing it at AAA, and they could obviously stand to upgrade in their outfield. I guess for fantasy purposes, the skill set looks a lot like Cole Carrigg. I think he's better than Cole Carrigg because I think he is a true hit tool standout. In a way, Cole Carrigg was hitting like almost 340 at AAA. I understand, but there are some problems in the hit tool there, like the chase rate I referred to, that Luis Lara doesn't have. And I think Lara has more to grow into too. So I think he's a better prospect overall. I think he's less flawed. I think he is, if not the top prospect to stash right now, one of the top 2 among ones who haven't been called up yet, obviously, because I think it could happen very soon now that this contract is in place.
All right, let's get into the non-prospect news items. And not again. Ronald Acuña pulled up lame after trying to leg out an infield single Turns out he felt tightness in that same left hamstring that landed him on the IL earlier this season. Walt Weiss said this injury, quote, doesn't seem as bad as the last one. Acuña will get an MRI and is day-to-day for now. We'll see how he feels on Wednesday. But obviously, recurrence of a hamstring injury. If I had to guess right now, I would guess that it lands in an IL stint. But again, that's just me speculating. Tarek Skubal is scheduled to throw a bullpen on Wednesday. If that goes well, it sounds like Skubal could rejoin the Tigers rotation this weekend. So amazing recovery once again for Tarek Skubal, who looked great in his lone rehab outing on Monday. Sunday, whenever that was. Francisco Lindor will go through full baseball activities this week during the Mets homestand. He has been on the IL since April with a calf strain. Bobby Witt Jr. was back in the lineup after missing Sunday with right knee soreness. Cole Reagans will throw a bullpen on Wednesday, his first time throwing off a mound since suffering a setback in late May. Brandon Woodruff started a rehab assignment at the Arizona Complex League on Tuesday. I'll see if I can pull those numbers up at some point. Drake Baldwin will face live BP on Thursday and Friday. If all goes well, he will start a rehab assignment at AAA on Saturday. Connor Griffin is scheduled to resume throwing on Wednesday. He's working his way back from that flexor strain in his right elbow. O'Neal Cruz was scratched from the lineup as he works through that cut on his left hand. Byron Buxton was back in the lineup after missing the past 2 games with a shoulder contusion. He went 1 for 5 with his 19th home run. He also struck out 4 times in that game. Samuel Basallo was out of the lineup on Tuesday due to left wrist pain. Adley Rutschman also out of the lineup, apparently dealing with left hamstring tightness. Will Smith of the Dodgers has missed 3 straight with neck discomfort and might need a stint on the IL. That would obviously be great news for Dalton Rushing's fantasy value. If you're wondering why Trevor McGill did not pitch in that slugfest on Monday night, he was unavailable due to oblique tightness. So we'll have to see if that lands him on the IL, opens up yet another opportunity for Abner Uribe. Shane Bieber's 4th rehab start will come this Thursday at AAA. In his first 3 outings, he has allowed 8 runs on 15 hits, 2 homers over 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, 0 walks. A lot of times, Scott, it's like rehabbing pitchers. We don't know exactly what they're working on, if they're just trying to get pitches over the plate. So I don't want to put too much into, the surface level numbers here for Shane Bieber, but how much of it is it a priority to stash him right now? He's 60% roster.
That's probably about right. 60% rostered. I came out with IL stash rankings a little over a week ago, and he was trying to remember where he was. I went 60 deep there, which is the deepest I've ever had to go. It was about midway, probably. It's a good idea if you have IL space, but at the same time, you shouldn't be counting on Shane Bieber being your savior.
So I just pulled it up. Shane Bieber was 29th out of 60 names there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Pretty much dead on there, huh? I only wrote the thing.
There you go. Chandler Simpson was back in the lineup after missing 3 games with left thumb soreness. Colt Emerson has missed 2 straight with back tightness. Colson Montgomery was out of the lineup due to back tightness. Not going to be confusing at all. Just looking at box scores, we'll have Colson Montgomery and Braden Montgomery in the same lineup. But yeah, it's just like not going to be confusing at all.
Montgomery.
Yep. Francisco Alvarez was activated from the IL. He is 37% rostered. Scott, what is your interest level in Francisco Alvarez?
That was a very undiscernible reference to the rockapella song Capital for the many people out there who are familiar with it, the way they say Montgomery in that song. Anyway, again, I was thinking about that and not actually listening to you. So I'm a great panelist here for you to ask questions to.
Francisco Alvarez. What's the interest level on him?
Yeah. So you know how I said there's been a great deal of attrition at catcher? Well, Alvarez should relieve some of that. Again, I'm not counting on him being a savior. In 2 catcher leagues, he might feel like a savior. I had him in one of those recently.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of upside there. There's been for years. He hasn't lived up to it. But there have been flashes at times, and he's probably more valuable than anything you could find on the waiver wire.
Yainer Diaz started a rehab assignment on Tuesday. Xander Bogaerts was placed on the paternity list. Will Wagner was recalled by the Padres. Dalton Varsho has missed 4 straight with wrist inflammation. He had an MRI come back negative. He did appear as a pinch runner and stole a base here on Tuesday, so hopefully getting closer to a return. And Jac Caglianone will undergo Tommy John surgery and miss the rest of this season. Let's take a look at waiver wire pitchers from Tuesday's action. And Dustin May got it done again, this time at the Mets. 6 shutout innings, 6 strikeouts. He had 10 whiffs on 101 pitches. His first 2 starts were terrible. In 11 starts since, it is a 2.89 ERA, 109 whip, 65% rostered. Scott, do you think Dustin May is a must roster at this point, the way that
man
is right now?
You and Chris keep trying to make fetch happen with Dustin May.
Oh, we'll get you eventually, Scott.
You'll get me eventually. I mean, look, he just, after this start, maybe. I mean, 11 starts, you mentioned the numbers there. If those were his season stats, of course he'd be must roster at this point. And it's really just those 2 bad starts bringing it down. But you know what? You guys always give me a hard time when I say remove the 2 worst starts and look how good the numbers are. And that's what you're basically doing here with Dustin May. Just want to say
we've been around you so long, Scott, that it's rubbing off a little bit.
You've rubbed off on me and I've rubbed off on you. And now we've basically switched places on the whole matter. It's what it seems like. I'd feel a lot better about Dustin May if his ground ball rate was still good. It's not. And if he gave up weaker contact than he does. He has a pretty hard contact for as many fly balls as he's allowed, and yet he's only given up 5 home runs this season. So that's in 13 starts, 5 home runs. I think
he has managed to avoid barrels pretty well so far this year.
And that kind of makes sense with as much movement as he has in his arsenal, but I still think there's got to be some amount of correction there. I don't know. It's fine to roster him. He probably needs to be rostered more than 65% of leagues. He's been a quality start machine. I'm going to be very quick to let him go if he has a couple bad starts in a row.
I think Dustin May is clearly behind Roki Sasaki, Reed Detmers, who we spoke about over the weekend. I think I would take Gage Jump over him too. Just the mystery bag, the upside that he possesses. JT Ginn. Would you rather have JT Ginn or Dustin May? Obviously, JT Ginn, bad start here on Tuesday, but pitching in Vegas, I think we can.
He's pitching on the moon, basically. And that's what it feels like. It's sort of like Coors Field, where I just don't think we can take much of anything from a start that a pitcher makes there. His pitch selection and the characteristics of all the pitches were way off. The induced vertical break, way off. Drop was way off for JT again. I'm frankly impressed. He's still got 15 whiffs, and that's what's really blowing my mind with JT again. The way the whiffs have been recently here. Like I was always intrigued by him, but he's looking even better than I imagined he could be. This start kind of raised his stock in my eyes, to be honest. I know the result wasn't good, but again, given the circumstances, you couldn't really expect a good result, and yet there are positives to take away from it. So, long story short, I prefer Ginn to May.
I think I would take Dustin May over these last 4 names: Walbert Arena, Noah Cameron, Shane Baz, Luis Castillo. Do you agree with that? May over Arena, Cameron, Baz, Castillo.
Yeah, I think so. It wouldn't surprise me if Castillo quickly overtook him the way he's looked recently, but obviously his season-long numbers still look pretty bad.
All right, let's quickly talk about Walbert Arena. He's been good. Obviously, the struggles with control are still there. He had 5 walks here on Tuesday, but it was 5 shutout innings. He had 7 strikeouts, only 7 whiffs on 107 pitches. The reason I bring him up is it looks like you could maybe beat the rest of your league to the waiver wire in line for 2 starts next week at the D-backs, at the Athletics. As of now, again, things could change, but Walbert Arena, Scott, can I interest you potentially as a 2-star pitcher next week at the D-backs, at the Athletics?
What does that the Athletics mean? I think it means back in Sacramento. I think this week is the only
I think so.
time they're playing in Las Vegas. Yeah, I think Waiver Acuña is very likely to be among my sleeper pitchers for next week with those 2 starts. The matchups could be better. The matchups could be worse.
Yeah.
He clearly didn't have it in this start. His most thrown pitch, the changeup, I believe, was only 4th most thrown in this one. I didn't write down exactly. I'm going off memory there, but like he didn't throw nearly as much. And he still managed to do okay in spite of that. Obviously, the walks were high. The walks have been high throughout. He entered this start with 5 walks per 9. But, a really good ground ball pitcher that has at least that one good swing and miss pitch. I think he's got a decent whiff rate on a couple others too. Yeah, I like Waiver Acuña overall. He's flawed, but for as rostered, or I guess I should say for as available as he is, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, the changeup was his 4th most used pitch in this one, and he got 0 whiffs on that changeup. It's been his best pitch all year. So, given that context, it is still pretty impressive that he was able to throw 5 shutout innings and 7 strikeouts here. Again, that is Waiver Acuña. Trevor Rogers, he's looked okay his last 2 starts. I think we need to see more. He was home against the Mariners, 5 2/3, 3 runs, 3 strikeouts to 1 walk. What do you think, Scotty? It's been a little bit encouraging, but I think we need to see more before we do anything with Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of positives other than, okay, the results are looking a little better. I've basically given up on Trevor Rogers. He's only 61% rostered, and yet in my article that came out Tuesday, most over rostered players by position, he was one of my 5 picks at SP, even with a 61% roster rate. I just don't have a lot of hope for Trevor Rogers at this point.
Would easily drop him for Dustin May, for JT Ginn, for Waiver Acuña. Again, that's Trevor Rogers. So you could go ahead and drop him for any interesting pitcher that pops up. Some deeper names here. Slade Ciccone. He has looked better recently. He had back-to-back starts against the Yankees. 5 innings of 2-run ball, 7 strikeouts, 12 whiffs on 87 pitches. He's throwing his cutter more, and it looks like a pretty good pitch. So I don't think we need to do anything with it yet, but I like the change in approach here for Slade Ciccone. And Eric Lauer, 1 out short of a quality start at the Pirates, 5 2/3, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts to 0 walks. He is only 10% rostered, and he's looked okay in 3 starts with the Dodgers so far. Scott, can I interest you in any deeper names here? Slade Ciccone and Eric Lauer.
They're potential streamers, though I haven't had much reason to suggest them as such. I'm a little annoyed that Lauer was as cromulent in this start as he was, because he's blocking the River Ryan from coming up. The River Ryan, which I mentioned this to you the other day because this is how boring I am. I'm going to bring it up again. Have you noticed that lakes, when you name a proper lake comes first, like Lake Superior, Lake Okeechobee, but then with rivers, river comes second, like Mississippi River, Ohio River.
Yeah,
I
had not noticed that until you brought it to my attention, but you
better start noticing. There are exceptions. The Great Salt Lake comes last, but usually it's lake first and river last.
Seems factual to me.
I find that interesting. Why did we land on that?
No lies detected, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, but I'll look it up after the show and see what I can find. Let's take our final break. When we return, I've got some waiver wire hitters, the worryometer, and much more. We'll do that right after this.
You need a hug?
You need a fist?
Crutch, crutch, crutch.
Crutch, crutch.
Crutch, you need anything.
I do have one question.
We didn't mean right now.
Welcome back, Fantasy Baseball. Today, quickly run through the waiver wire hitters here from Tuesday's action. Matt McClain, he is making some stuff happen lately. He went 0 for 3, but he did have 2 walks. He had 3 steals in this game against the Padres, And over his last 4 games, he has 5 hits, 3 homers, 3 steals. We need to see more, but we know he does have some power and speed. He's got 51% roster for Matt McLain. Is this enough to move the needle yet, or do we need to see more?
I want to see if his playing time has...
I believe he started 4 or 5 straight, but he sat out some for that. Yeah.
4 straight and 7 of 8. Yep. So all at shortstop. He was at shortstop today, right?
I will look that up.
It would be all at shortstop if that was the case. So the Ellie De La Cruz injuries is doing him some favors as far as that goes. And he could, if he continues this recent trend, he could find his way back into the lineup more permanently. The pull air rate's better than it's ever been. Still not very good, but better than it's ever been. The strikeout rate's better than it's ever been. Still not very good, but better than it's ever been. The bat speed is up, which I think we've been noting all along. So, we were never that sold on McLain's skill set, even at his best, but the skill set looks better. And so I guess I wouldn't be terribly surprised if the production, if he became a usable player again. I don't know that it's a rush to add him situation unless you're really hurting at second base. Like you're really hurting at second base, or I guess shortstop, either of the positions where he qualifies. Then of course you take a shot on upside wherever it reveals itself. But I think in most cases we still need to see more. Like you're saying, there's reason for hope though.
Yeah. There are 4 second basemen between 50 and 53% rostered on CBS. Matt McLain, Luis Garcia Jr., Bryson Stott, and Gleyber Torres. I think Garcia is the only one that I would take McLain over. I think I would still lean Gleyber Torres and Bryson Stott over McLain. Do you disagree?
I would say McLain over Stott for sure. I don't see much to like there with Stott, and I'm pretty sure he still sits most of the time against lefties, right?
He's been playing more against lefties lately.
Is that what you just said?
No, I did not say it.
Okay. You're right. He has been playing more against lefties lately.
Yeah.
I was thinking about something else again, and I didn't want to have to say it again because it's embarrassing. So I wasn't sure if you'd said that already for Stott.
No, I didn't. Not this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I was thinking about is a user said, AI says the Great Lakes were named by French explorers while the rivers were named by English explorers. In French, you say the name after. Okay, but I wasn't just talking about the Great Lakes. I was talking about Lake Okeechobee, Lake, can't think of names of other lakes now, but
Lake George,
Lake Lanier, Lake George. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. It's not that easy. Can't just use AI to solve all your problems. Like this is a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it is a response. I don't know if it's the correct response, but it's possible.
I don't believe it.
All right. Let's move on.
Go ahead. Move on.
3 other names here. Spencer Jones, who hit his first career home run. It was a bomb. 112 exit velocity, 443 feet straightaway center field. Also has a 41% strikeout rate so far in his career. Jacob Gonzalez quietly hitting well so far with the White Sox, 2 for 4 with a walk, a run, and RBI. He has started 7 of 8. And Joe Mack is coming around a little bit, 4 for 4 with 3 runs scored over his last 7. He's batting .391 with a homer and 7 RBI. Can I interest you, Scott? Let's say in roto style lineup. So 5 outfielders, 2 catchers, middle infield spots. Any interest in Spencer Jones, Jacob Gonzalez, and Joe Mack?
Look, I am hopeful that Spencer Jones can figure it out. That would be amazing. Ton of upside there. I think though, probably Slade Ciccone was feeling embarrassed to give up that home run based on how easy a time major league pitchers have had with Spencer Jones so far. So Yeah, that strikeout hurdle is going to be really difficult to overcome. Joe Mack, he's going to keep playing catcher for the Marlins, but I just he's got to get a lot hotter than this, I think, to make a dent in fantasy. He's strikes me as more of a glove first guy. I know he was pretty productive in the minors, but not in a way that I necessarily trust to translate against major league pitching. So maybe the one I have the most hope for here is Jacob Gonzalez. And I was curious how regularly he's playing pretty much every day at first base. I'd still prioritize like Matt McClain over him, but we'll keep an eye on Gonzalez, who was among the minor league leaders in home runs when he got called up, and with some impressive underlying data too.
With Spencer Jones, he is behind all those other outfielders we spoke about earlier, right? So the prospects that got called up today, Ewing, Waldschmidt, Cruz, Marte, Caglianone, behind all those, right?
Yeah, my expectation is Spencer Jones never amounts to anything in fantasy. The strikeout issues are just too great. The contact issues just too great. But his upside is enormous if I'm wrong about that. So it's like we kind of call all prospect call-ups lottery ticket, and to a degree that's true. But, lottery ticket, what are they all? You're more likely to get struck by lightning than to win the lottery. So like it's that level of unlikely for Jones, but not impossible.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's fire up the worryometer here on Wednesday. And I've got 3 pitchers here. 10, you are extremely worried. You could not be more worried about this player. 1, you are not worried at all. Freddie Peralta, a rough outing here against the Cardinals. 6 innings, 6 runs allowed. Did have 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Under the hood, everything seemed okay, but he did allow 7 hard hits in this game. He's allowed 4+ earned runs in 3 of his last 4 outings. The ERA has climbed over 4. Scott, where is Freddie Peralta on the worryometer?
It's not that I'm worried so much. It's just that I'm underwhelmed. I think part of the issue, and it really stood out in this start, is just he no longer emphasizes the slider like he once did. He threw it 2% of the time in this start. He's thrown it 10% normally this year. That used to be his pitch, man. And it still has the best whiff rate of all his pitches, and he just doesn't feature it as much. He basically didn't at all in this start and got a bad result. And I think maybe that helps to explain why the results have been a little underwhelming all year. I'm not really counting on it improving. I think he's fine, but I think he's not nearly as good as he was drafted to be. He's more like a top 36 pitcher the rest of the way than a top 24 pitcher. That's how I'm viewing Freddie Peralta.
Yeah. Would you slap the buy low label on him, or just he is what he is, kind of stay away? Unless you get him really cheap, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. What is his ERA up to now after this start?
4.04 with a 132 whip.
I think he'll be better than that, but I also don't know if that's bad enough, particularly after this one start, that anybody's looking to unload him for nickels on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm not thinking him in terms of a traditional buy low. I think he's probably better than he's been so far. So to that degree, yeah, but I don't. It's not like you should seek him out specifically because there's so much gain to be had there.
Let's talk about Taj Bradley, who had a rough outing at the Tigers. 4 1/3 innings, 5 runs allowed, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 homers allowed. His 4-seam fastball got destroyed. Of the 9 batted balls, 8 of them were hard hit. 100.2 average exit velocity on that pitch here. And in 4 starts since returning from the IL, a 7 ERA, a 167 whip. Scott, where is Taj Bradley on the worryometer? Maybe he should be on the drop-o-meter.
Yeah, I'm not sure I actually gave a number for Freddie Peralta, by the way. I'm going to put him at like a 4 on the worryometer. I'm going to put Taj Bradley at like a 7 on the worryometer. I'm not that motivated to drop him yet. It's not unthinkable in shallow leagues where you desperately need somebody to drop. He was overachieving earlier this year. The hard contact. He gives up a lot of hard contact. Most of it's in the air. He had good home run luck that kind of came back. It kind of normalized all at once here with the 3 home runs against the Tigers. But there may be still more to give back there in the home run category. But even more than that, I feel like since that pectoral strain, you mentioned the 7 ERA and 4 starts, he has not thrown the splitter nearly as much. He's thrown it about half the time. If you look game by game, he was throwing it more than 20% of the time before the injury. It's more like, 10 to 12% in the start since then. It was 11% in this start. And splitter has been, it was kind of the key to him having so much success earlier on. So I think partly there's regression at play here. I think partly it's, I don't know why he's changed things up. I don't know if it's related to the pectoral injury, but it's not a good trend for Taj Bradley, and it may exacerbate the downfall or accelerate the downfall. It's probably a better word choice.
Mm-hmm. If he was the worst pitcher on your team, would you drop him for Roki Sasaki or like Jared Jones?
Yes.
Okay. Again, that was Taj Bradley we were just talking about. I'm not sure that Garrett Cole deserves to be part of the worryometer segment, but I just find his return kind of weird so far. So I'll throw him in here. We'll talk about him. A short outing here at the Guardians, 4 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts to 2 walks, only 4 swinging strikes on 83 pitches. The velocity was up across the board. He topped out at 100 miles per hour on the fastball. He did get 3 whiffs on the slider. He just could not get whiffs on anything else. Some questionable defense behind him in the start as well, forced him to throw more pitches, and that's why it was on the shorter end in this outing. But the strikeouts are just not there so far, Scott. What are your thoughts? If you want to give a worryometer number, go for it. But what are your overall thoughts, Garrett Cole, through 4 starts?
I'll give him a 3 on the worryometer, which doesn't mean I'm not at all worried. There's a little bit of worry there. My overall thoughts were so this was the 4th start, right? My overall thoughts were that, okay, the 1st and 3rd start where the strikeout numbers were down, that's when he threw this new sinker more. And then the 2nd start where he got whiffs at more at a rate we'd expect from Garrett Cole. Yeah, 15 on 79 pitches, struck out 10 in that 2nd start. He didn't throw the sinker much at all. So my thought was, okay, get rid of the sinker guy. It's not helping you. And I hoped it would be as simple as that. He pretty much got rid of the sinker in this one, threw it only 4% of the time, and yet 4 whiffs on 83 pitches. So apparently it isn't that simple for Garrett Cole, which raises my worry by a point.
Yeah. If I'm making excuses for Garrett Cole, which I guess I'm obligated to do, in 3 of the 4 starts where his strikeouts were lower and the swinging strikes were down, it was against the Guardians twice and the Rays once. And both of those teams have 2 of the 6 lowest strikeout rates against right-handed pitching this season. So they're not teams that swing and miss all that much. But, Garrett Cole of old, that probably wouldn't matter. He would still get whiffs no matter what. So it's, I don't know. How much does it matter? I think it's part of the reason, but I also he's not fully back yet. I think we just need more. We need more data here from Garrett Cole to see what he does against other teams as well. Some leftovers. Bombs away in Vegas once again here on Tuesday night. The A's wound up winning 7-5. They got 6 more homers, 5 on the A's side of things, 1 for the Brewers. We got homers from Nick Kurtz, Tyler Soderstrom, Jonah Heim, Zach Geloff, Jackson Trio. Wanted to just quickly touch on Henry Bolte, who went 1 for 4, his first career homer, 2 RBI. He's been solid, but he just isn't playing enough. He sat out 3 of the past 9 games, 36% rostered. Scott, what size leagues do you think Henry Bolte needs to be rostered in right now, if any?
I mean, right now, 36% seems okay to me. We'll see if he picks up the pace here now that he's in the home run column. And that was a legitimate home run. It probably didn't need to travel 446 feet, but hit at 107 miles per hour at a 27-degree launch angle. That's going to be a home run, I would say. So, Bolte, it was a legit home run. He's been hitting the ball very hard, striking out too much, though, and not playing enough. So, unless he earns his way into more playing time, he just doesn't need to be that rostered.
Yeah, I think just deeper 5 outfielder leagues for now. Similar to Spencer Jones, I think, kind of in that same conversation. 3 other hitters who are picking up the power. Corbin Carroll, back-to-back games with a home run. He has 4 homers in his past 7. Hunter Goodman is on fire. He has 5 home runs in his past 7 games. He is up to 18 on the season. And Riley Green, the power starting to come around a little bit over his last 7 games. He's hitting .346 with 3 home runs. I think it was mostly just a matter of time for all 3 of these. While the power has been there for Corbin Carroll, Scott, he only has 7 steals. He's on pace for 17 stolen bases. Last year he had 32. That seems kind of weird for Corbin Carroll.
I knew better not to mention him in my sad fantasy feud showing yesterday, which thankfully nobody teased me about. I was relieved about that. 98th percentile sprint speed, so that clearly isn't the issue. It's not like he's slowed down, literally. I'm trying to remember last year how it played out with steals, because I want to say...
I don't think he stole that many in the first half either.
Right. That's what I'm remembering, too. And so first half, he only had 11 steals. And so that's obviously through mid-July. We're not even there yet. He has 7. So it's playing out similarly. That doesn't mean he's going to have 21 in the second half like he did last year, but it does mean you probably shouldn't lose heart, because that's just the way stolen bases go sometimes.
All right, some pitching leftovers. Studs with quality starts. Paul Skeens against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. He had 19 whiffs on 103 pitches. This was his first quality start since May 12th. And Logan Gilbert, a strong outing at the Orioles, 6 innings of 1-run ball, 5 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 105 pitches. I've noticed his last couple starts, he's focusing more on his four seam and his slider. And I feel like that's a good thing. Like, let's condense everything and get back to what works with Logan Gilbert. And he has looked better over his last 4 outings. Scott, anything to add on Logan Gilbert and Paul Skeens?
Yeah, it feels like the whole Mariners pitching staff, right? Like they were so good to begin with, and then they got a little too clever, and they're having to relearn what made them good in the first place. So I'm hopeful that's what's happening with Gilbert. Skeens, 4 shaky starts in a row, so it was nice to see him bounce back. He leans a lot on that fastball too. So maybe he was getting a little too clever with all those pitches he doesn't need. But never a doubt, never moved him out of the top spot in my starting pitcher rankings.
All right, this next game up, maybe he's better than we think. Nick Martinez, another quality start, this one against the Red Sox. 7 innings, 3 runs, only 2 strikeouts and 0 walks. Nice bounce back after 6 earned runs in his previous start, but 3 earned runs or fewer in 12 of 13. He has gone 6+ innings in 8 of 13. He's been really consistent. I do think there will be some regression at some point. I don't know, Scott. Maybe Nick Martinez is just better than we think.
The Rays have made changes here.
Yeah.
So his top 2 pitches last year, while still with the Reds, were the sinker and the changeup. This year, no, wait a second. I got that backwards. His top 2 pitches last year with the Reds were the cutter and the fastball. This year, they're the sinker and the changeup. The changeup's been his best swing and miss pitch. The sinker is obviously a pitch that's an important pitch for pitch to contact guys. And Nick Martinez, I think, has leaned into that pitch to contact approach this year in a way that's really benefited him. He's not as good as a 2.43 ERA, obviously. He's got a 4.52 xERA. But, 366 FIP. He's always been a great strike thrower, and I think is preventing home runs with the sinker being a prominent part of his arsenal now. And I think he's decent. I'm not saying he's must roster. He probably seems that way with as good as his ERA is right now. I don't think it'll remain that way, but I think he'll remain relevant at the very least.
Especially in head-to-head points leagues where he does have that RP eligibility. 2 solid outings, but just not as efficient as they usually are. Max Meyer against the D-backs, 5 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, 2 homers allowed in that one. And Chase Burns, 5 1/3, 2 runs allowed, 7 strikeouts. Both were solid, Scott. Just, we didn't get the recent length that we've been getting from both of those guys. Anything on Burns and Max Meyer?
Not really. Meyer's previous start was awesome. The start before that wasn't so much. So he's been a little hit or miss lately, but overall, the numbers are still really good. And I think the approach makes sense. I think he's having a breakout season. And Burns is awesome. He doesn't go 6 innings every time, but he's awesome.
And just a flat out bad outing here from Peyton Tolley at the Rays. 6 innings, 9 hits, 4 runs, 3 strikeouts. Only 7 whiffs on 94 pitches. Still has a 2.70 ERA, 106 whip. I think he's allowed to have a bad start. Anything that actually worried you with Peyton Tolley?
No. That was my takeaway too. It was the Rays, right? His previous start against the Rays also wasn't dominant.
Yeah.
So they may just have his number a little bit, but in any case, not worried about Tolley moving forward.
Some other hitting leftovers. Randy Arozarena continued his huge season. He hit his 7th home run with 3 RBI. Contract year Randy. He's having a big one. Freddie Freeman, 2 for 4 with a walk, RBI, and 2 runs scored. He surpassed 2,500 career hits. Huge accomplishment. Congrats there to Freddie Freeman. Andy Pages, another one. His 15th home run. He had 3 RBI. Otto Lopez continued his massive season. 3 for 5, 4 runs scored, 11 steals. Jazz has been much better since about mid-May. Hit his 9th home run over his last 20 games. He's hitting .289 with 5 homers, 5 steals, and OPS over 900. Alec Burleson hit his 9th home run, and he's hitting .389 over his last 9. Matt Olson continued his power bounce back. He went 2 for 4 with a double dong, 3 RBI. He is on pace for 45 homers, 118 runs, and 120 RBI. Massive, massive season here from Matt Olson. And Miguel Vargas, another one. 1 for 4 with a walk and his 16th home run. Lots of names here, Scott. Anything that stood out? Anything that you'd like to touch on before we get to the bullpens?
I would say I just want to mention Matt Olson very nearly had 3 home runs in that game. I don't know that it technically counted as a robbery. It would have been a home run in 6 of 30 stadiums. It looked like it was going out, and there was a leap at the wall.
His 4th batted ball went to the warning track, too.
Yeah. So hopefully he's heating up again. He'd cooled off a little after a blazing start to the season. And they may really need him if Ronald Acuña is going back on the IL, which I suspect he is.
The call to the bullpen for the Royals. They had a normal save chance, and it still went to Alex Lang. So that was encouraging to see. He walked 1. He struck out 2 for his 4th save. He did throw 6 straight balls to open this appearance. They got Matt Strahm warming up in the bullpen, but he settled down, converted his 4th save, 30% rostered. Kind of feels like the guy for now, Alex Lang.
You said he threw how many straight balls to begin the appearance?
6.
I thought you said 8, and I was like, how do you have only 1 walk then? Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, it was getting harder to make the case that he wasn't the guy, even though the circumstances were odd with his first 3 saves, all 3 of them. But I think this makes it plainly clear that he is now the top dog in the Royals bullpen, Alex Lang.
For the White Sox, Sir Anthony Dominguez pitched the 8th inning with the game tied. Grant Taylor then pitched a scoreless 9th. He came back out for the 10th. He allowed the Manfred man to score. on a hit, but he wound up with the win because the White Sox walked it off against Raisel Iglesias. But Dominguez in the 8th here, Scott. Grant Taylor gets the 9th and the 10th. Kind of feels like they might be shifting over to Grant Taylor. He is 34% rostered. How do you feel about the White Sox bullpen right now?
Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting too. I know last time we talked about it, Chris felt like that wasn't going to happen, that they still had too much financial incentive to stick with Sir Anthony Dominguez, but I'm not sure they're thinking in those terms anymore. I mean, if the season ended today, the White Sox would be in the playoffs, I believe.
They're playing really well. I think they just have to go for whoever gives them the best chance.
Right. And now with this 8th inning appearance for Sir Anthony Dominguez, that makes 4 of his last 6 appearances where he's entered prior to the 9th. So that's a stretch of about 2 weeks where they haven't been treating him like a closer. He has gotten 1 save during that time, but that's not conventional closer use. It's not how they were using him before. And now this is 2 appearances where Grant Taylor has gotten that shot instead of Dominguez. So yeah, I think Taylor is, things are trending Taylor's way here in the White Sox bullpen in leagues where saves are scarce. Definitely need to pick him up, or in leagues where you need to fortify your Dominguez spot. You got to pick up Taylor there too, as like a handcuff.
Who would you rather add between Alex Lang and Grant Taylor?
Well, if it's purely about maximizing saves in the short term, I'd have to say Lang. I feel more comfortable in him having that role right now. He's not as good as Taylor. And so if it's more about securing the best closer for the long run, then maybe you lean Taylor.
Yeah, I think that's the way I would go as well. Grant Taylor, I mean, he is filthy. I get why they're going to him. And so I do think in the long term, he's probably just going to take over that bullpen. For the Mariners, with Andres Munoz unavailable, Jose Ferrer got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He allowed 2 runs on a walk and 3 hits. He took his second blown save, but he wound up with the win because on the other side for the Orioles, top of the 10th inning, Rico Garcia allowed a 2-run homer, and he took his first loss of the season. For the Rays, Brian Baker picked up his 18th save. For the Yankees, David Bednar was unavailable. Fernando Cruz got the final 5 outs, 4 via strikeout for his first save. For the Blue Jays, Louis Varland got the 9th with the game tied. He allowed a run on a hit and on a walk and a hit, but wound up with the win because on the other side, for the Phillies, Yohan Duran got the bottom of the 9th with a 1-run lead. He allowed 2 runs on 3 hits. He took his first blown save and 3rd loss of the season. And then, as we mentioned earlier, Raisel Iglesias, he was actually going for the 2-inning win here, but gave up that walk-off home run to Braden Montgomery. To stream or not to stream on Wednesday, we have Ryan Nelson at the Marlins, Andre Palante at the Mets, Seth Lugo versus the Rangers, Peter Lambert at the Angels, and Reed Detmers home against the Astros.
I think yesterday I recommended on Wednesday Ryan Nelson, Seth Lugo, and Reed Detmers, and I am inclined to say that again.
Yeah, I would probably just change up the order. I think I would go Nelson, Detmers, Lugo. I think Palante is fine as well if you miss out on those other 3. On Thursday, we have Christian Scott against the Cardinals, Hunter Dobbins at the Mets, Zebby Matthews at the Tigers, Kader Montero against the Twins, Merrill Kelly at the Marlins, and Kumar Rocker at the Royals.
I am going to say Zebulon Matthews, which is actually his middle name. That's where Zebby comes from.
Sultan.
Otherwise, Merrill Kelly at Miami probably, and I really don't want to pick a third. It's between Christian Scott against the Cardinals and Kumar Rocker at Kansas City.
Yeah,
I feel better about Matthews and Kelly though.
I would go Scott as a third option. I would go Matthews, Kelly, and then Christian Scott in that order. But again, Kumar Rocker, if you miss out on the other 3, I think is okay. We are going to wrap there for Scott. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.